Bonjour, guten Tag, wie geht's dir? I hope that you're good. My name is Gracia Susuzande, your host of Etincelle, and welcome to Etincelle Talk Show. Today is Monday, and then it's time for another episode, and we want to touch people's heart. Etincelle is all about touching your heart, touching communities, touching countries, and be able to understand that we can come from somewhere and go somewhere. So I hope that you're ready for tonight, as we are going to discuss the subject of drugs and addiction. Last time it was all about the gospel, knowing a little bit more the pros and cons. And we had this amazing woman of God, Minister Biloti Erema, who enlightened us, who went a little bit deeper and even gave her testimony on this one. So I'm inviting you to connect. Are you ready? I'm going to give you a short little break, go, come back, and we will begin. See you soon. Hello, and then I hope that you are ready for me. I hope that you're ready for this subject, as we are going to be discussing an open heart. You know, when I'm by myself, it's all about me actually talking to you, talking to your soul, talking to your family. I don't know who this message really can go to. And I pray. When I say I pray, I really am asking you to open your ears in order for us to discuss and one-to-one this subject, as it is very, very, very important. So we said, is our future in danger? Is our future in danger? And before we even dive into the subject, I really want to to just enlighten you, just to let you know that we are connected in so many platforms where you can literally follow us from left and right, from the four corners of the world. I'm talking about Instagram. We are literally on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube and also on TikTok. So honestly, connect yourself, tell a friend. And if you feel like, hey, Gracia, I've missed a show, well, it's never too late. You can always go back, catch up to all the shows. If there's, a subject that you feel like Etincelle need to enlighten in this one, need to touch on this one, need to elaborate a little bit more, even if you yourself, you feel like you want to come on the show, honestly, come. I'm inviting you. You just need to, look for me, message me, call me if you need to call me, but message me. I'll definitely respond back to you in order to know how we can make this happen. All right, so Etincelle is ringing a bell, and this is why for this whole month of June, we've been talking about, is our future in danger? Is our future really in danger? And, we spoke about what's called the gospel, as I said earlier, with the Minister Biloti Erema, but there are other subjects when it comes to, for example, rape. We spoke about human traffic. We spoke about, music, and there's so many more to come, honestly, because this is like a sanduku, right? Remember this, the show that I had with the evangelist Lorette Inzala, who spoke about sanduku, who simply is, this mail. Basically, c'est une valise, or maybe no, because she said it's not. But inside this massive suitcase or case, there are a lot of things inside, and it's exactly like the subject that we are speaking right now. Is our future in danger? So now, today, drugs and addiction. What are drugs? What are the drugs? I believe that you know exactly what I'm talking about, and we can name it. So if Reggie is ready for me, can put, the first images when it comes to the drugs. These are just like little images that you can refer to. You can see what is it really all about. But we live in the 21st century where what drugs is not really a taboo anymore. I mean, it's literally everywhere, practically, and most places, maybe not, maybe towards back in the villages, or maybe yes, you never know, but it's really known right now, whereby even the children, they kind of do their researches, and it's kind of scary, very, very scary to see that maybe like a 7 years old or 6 years old boy or girl can know a little bit more about it, and so forth. So drugs and addiction, and these two really they're not the same thing, but the one or the other, takes a little bit over, and it's just basically addiction is when you're holding on to drugs, when you're holding on to things that cannot let you, it seems like it can't seem to let you go, and you can't seem to let it go, so you are addicted to it. It's like you cannot live without it. You're depending on it. All right, so this is what you call addiction. And so there's a lot of children, a lot of youth. It doesn't matter really the age you are, but you can really become addicted to drugs, addicted to all the other substance that I will be mentioning on the show of Etincelle. And the reason why I'm ringing the bell in your house, and I'm ringing the bell really in everyone's social media platforms, regardless where you may be finding, is because our future needs to be saved. Our future matters, and our youth matters. Our children matters, and it's really, really important for you to know that. If our children are not safe, then what is the point of really keep on having children? Because they're the one who keep on passing. They keep on passing what we are giving to them, honestly. So we, as adults, the ones that knows a little bit more, that knows a little bit better, we need to understand that we need a safe future. I hope that I'm talking to someone, and I hope that your ears are really much open for us to discuss this subject. So, the first images, I believe, Reggie can put any of the first images, honestly. It's just little bits and pieces here and there, just to show you, honestly, the drugs that are really put out there. Sometimes you can't even seem to, clock that it is, and maybe you can smell it, maybe you're wondering, is it not? But our children are becoming very much, not just depending on it, but how I'm gonna say this, our children are basically, there are some children, or even some parents, who are even offering, are you hearing me, offering drugs to children, offering what's it called, drugs to the ones that are absolutely unknown to this world. Because as soon as you put your feet into this world, so if you're not strong enough to come out, honestly, it can be very, very, very difficult to come out. And you need help. You need people to help you out in order to hold your hand and be able to come out. So the images that are here right now that we are going to place, we see here cannabis. I hope that you can see this. So we have the cannabis, we have pills, we have cigarette, we have money. Money can be a drug, trust me, believe me. Drug. We have alcohol. We have all kinds of things. some of the drugs can also be liquid as well. It's not just about powder or that you can sniff, but honestly, some of them is liquid where you can literally drink. And not long ago, actually, one of my clients, because I'm also a hairstylist, beside of being, yacht host of Etincelle, I had to have a conversation with her, and I'm gonna keep the name private. I checked on her just to see whether she was okay. And she was like, because she calls me auntie. She was like, auntie, no, I'm not okay. This is what happened to me. And I was like, what happened to you? And she said that she fainted in school. She collapsed in school. Why? Because some of the children, or classmates, had to put drugs in her drink. Now you're wondering, what is this drug that she took in her system? Is basically weed. So now she never had weed before. She doesn't know how or what is all about. But as soon as this drug enters her body, her system, it was a bit too much for her. So it went to her brain, and she fainted and she collapsed. So they had to call the ambulance and then, take her to the hospital, and they had to, take steps further in order to alarm the school and also the headmaster about this. And this is just to tell you how children can be spiteful, children can be evil, and sometimes it's done on purpose for a reason. It could, and the reason can be many. It can take you to rape, it can take you to abuse, it can take you to, to bully. There's so many points here that I can really mention to you, but I believe that you were a child and you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know how difficult it can be sometimes in the middle of children who don't like you, children who don't accept you, this community who doesn't accept your skin color, or maybe it is your way you are, your character, or maybe the fact that you are a genius, or you are a geek, or maybe beautiful. And there's so many points here that I'm naming that can push a child to be maybe spiteful and evil enough, or maybe jealous to be able to hurt you, or maybe hurt your child. So I'm really, really calling for an alarm to let you know that it's important for us adults to guard our children, to keep our children safe. And drugs is one of the elements that I'm calling for you to be alarmed by. Is really one of the elements for you to understand that we are living in a world whereby anything can happen at any time. Anything can happen. Nothing is really impossible. If you tell me, oh, Grace, no, that can never happen. Well, let me tell you that it can. Anything can happen. What is it really that can not happen? All right? So these are the first things that I really wanted to let you know. And these drugs, as soon as it enters in someone's body, in the child's body, because they don't know better, as I said, it can be difficult to come out. And as soon as it starts getting difficult to come out, it starts affecting their school, start affecting their friendships, start affecting their mind, start affecting so many. But there are also some children whereby, this drugs, as I'm saying, this addiction becomes it's like they start leaning on it. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Meaning that, because you don't check on your child, you don't even check whether they're okay. You don't keep your eyes on them. You don't have a communication, a clear communication of what is really happening in that world. So they start rejecting you now, pushing you away, and now start leaning on all this other substance that is giving them maybe the strength to cope in school, the strength to cope at university, strength to cope even in a daily life when it comes to even the parenthood, because there are young parents, there are youth, but they are still parent. A child, but parent. They entered in this world a little bit too quick, too soon, because of so many situations that could have occurred. rape here and there, like, forced marriages, and there's so many, and I believe that I touched this subject previous weeks ago. And these are realities that we really do live in this world. For me to talk to you about drugs and addiction is because these are sensitive subjects. I really want for you to become sensitive about it, to pay attention on certain conversation that you're having with your children, certain conversation that you're having with your niece, nephew, aunties, uncles. Sometimes we have uncles, but they're young uncles. You think that they're cool and so forth, but as they're talking to you, they're high. They're not themselves. Some people they've entered in this world so young that as soon as they are growing, is obviously affecting their character. So it's like they are so angry all the time, but as soon as they take it, it calms them down. So now in this marriage that they are in, the wife knows about it. The wife knows that to calm my man, to calm my husband, I need to give him that drug. I need to give him that substance for him to calm down, to be calm, chill. But is it something to get used to? Is it something to accept? Not even used to accept. There are certain things you can accept, there are certain things you cannot accept. Because there are what you call generation curses. And I don't want to go too much into religion. But when I'm talking about curses, basically, like if the father was an alcoholic, the son somehow start, digging himself into it. And then the other son, and then the other son. It's like it's just spreading generation after generation. So now, is it something that we should not worry about? And that is really my question to you. Should we not worry about our children? Should we not worry about our community? Should we not worry about, our world? We live and we die, and we're going to go. To who are we living a safe world to? This is really my question to you, and I really want you to, interact with me. Because I obviously need you to talk to me. At some point, I will, introduce this beautiful, marvelous woman of God that you have heard so many times, but she will come very, 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 very soon. So now, there is a video that I really wanted to put out there, but just after this, because so I've touched pills, I've touched weed and so forth, but we have, and I believe that I've mentioned alcoholism, but there are also tobacco, as I said earlier. We have sex addiction, we have drug addiction, as I said, we have video games addiction. There are children and youth in our world who are addicted to the internet. We cannot live without it. We are literally in the 21st century. But this can be an addiction. This can be a drug whereby, your phone is non-stop in your hand. And I can put my hand forward when it comes to be constantly, updating your profile and so forth. It's like you need the internet. But to what level, to which extent can you actually go when it comes to the internet? We have the shopping addiction, what we call shopaholic. You cannot live without it. You need to spend money constantly. We're talking about the gambling. Listen, I know someone who started gambling very, very young. But today, as I'm telling you, he found the strength to actually come out. And I'm just touching a point here. We have food addiction. All this that I'm mentioning, all these points that I just mentioned to you right now, these can be drugs. These are not, how am I gonna say that? It's not that it can be, but it is. Okay? and is really to pull your attention to this show right now. Please share it. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Please tell someone that, hey, there is Etincelle who's talking about something very, very important. Can you listen to it? Can you pay your put your ears to it in order for us to discuss a little bit more? So I'm going to give you a short little break for us to come back to these points that I mentioned and to discuss it a little bit deeper. Thank you so much, and see you just in a minute. Yes, we are back, and I hope that you're still connected with Etincelle. Etincelle is all about enlightening, the public, as I said. So I hope that you are being enlightened. That light is, is shining through. I hope, right? Right. I believe it is anyway. So let's continue on this subject of drug and addiction. Drugs and addiction. Please call a friend, tell a friend that we are live. So continuing on, we touched on tobacco, right? Which is cigarettes. I remember when I was quite young, 12, 13, and in the school where I was going, well, I was literally the only black girl, the only one. Before me, there was this much older guy, but that was his last year. So as soon as I, stepped in the school, that was his last year, he left. As soon as he left, I was the only black girl. That was only me. So if you're looking for a black girl, you'll find me, right? So it was difficult for me to integrate in that school. Why? Because there was a lot of racism. A lot of people didn't like me for many reasons, right? So, and I cannot go into their brain in order to understand why they didn't like me. But I definitely felt the pressure. So now one thing, later on I got to, make friends, but I was a little bit skeptic when it comes to that, because I knew already my skin color was not welcomed, and I had to be careful. So, but one girl in particular, I believe, she was beautiful. She was very, very, very kind to me, and always wanted to, to defend me. But what she was doing, and probably is, maybe she was unconscious, while doing it, is to propose me to smoke. It's like, don't you want to? Try, It's not bad. Have you never tried? And one thing about me is like I dislike and I hate with all my heart the smell of tobacco. Like I just don't like it. Listen, I hate cigarettes. So that's me. So that was one thing that helped me actually to stay away, because I never liked it. So, but I loved her company, but I never liked cigarette. So every time there was someone close to me proposing me, offering tobacco, cigarette, and other drugs, where I used to say no, because that was definitely not me. No. Now, coming out of me, there were so many other, 12 years old, 13 years old, young girl back then and now, who are facing all this pressure the pressure of being accepted, the pressure to integrate a community, a society, a friendship group, and so much more. All right, what's it called? A company. It's like you need to do this for you to get this, and there's a lot of things. Corruption. That it keeps on growing, keeps on, taking place in this 21st century. And it's really and the reason why I'm saying this is really for the parents to wake up, for you really to wake up. So tobacco is something that as soon as it enters your body, as I said, it starts destroying you from the inside. And I believe that if you want to know a little bit more about tobacco, where it comes from, what it is really, you have the dictionary, you have the internet, you have people around you. There are people that I've known and I've seen the documentary who are literally, they are talking to you, but they have no lungs. This is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. So then, the doctor has insert what's it called, a tube inside their throat in order to allow them to speak. Why? Because tobacco has gradually been, destroying their lungs, destroying the inside, and slowly but surely. And honestly, it's not something that you want to be, you want to be involved with. One thing I always say is self-love. When you love yourself, there are a lot of things you will not do. There's a lot of things you will not allow anyone to, to insert in your bubble, in your space, right? When you love yourself, you'll be careful in everything you do. Your friends, your family, your surrounding, what you eat, where you go, what you listen to, what you're reading, what you're watching, and it's very, very, very important to pay attention to all these details, because you need to protect yourself. Okay, so we have sex addiction, and yes, there is sex addiction, and trust me, there are young girls, and I have testimonies of so many people. This young girl particularly, right now she's a mother of 3, but as soon as she entered in a world at the age of 14, she has become dependent of sex, to the point where it has really started eating her inside and out, to the point where she even lost her marriage, lost her children, because you can't seem to control. So now, when you can't control, what do? You seek for help. And sometimes we're not even strong enough to even ask for help, but there are people around us who can truly help. People around us who can understand what you go through. People around you who can understand, how to help you. Sometimes it's all about speaking. Speak about it. Talk about it. Choose, observe around you. There are people you can call. There are people you can call if you don't trust your surrounding. You don't trust the people around you. Well, there are people you can call. All right? There are people you can call. And they will be able to help you, to advise you the best you could. Then we have video games. Listen, there was the specific video games documentary that I watched. This 6, I can't remember exactly how old he was, but because he was so addicted to this game, in America. I believe he was even on social medias, on TV. He ended up killing his own dad. Why? Because his dad had a gun in the house, hidden somewhere, and he found out what it was. And because he was addicted to it, that video game became reality for him. The video game became reality for him. So now he went up and got the gun, and I don't know exactly what happened to his mind, his brain, but he ended up pulling the trigger and his dad was gone. It takes only 1 second when it comes to this. 1 second, not minutes. In minutes, you have 60 seconds. So it takes 1 second to kill someone. Video games can be dangerous. Video games can be fun, but as soon as you become addicted to it, dependent on it. Because I remember it happened to me where like I was playing that game a little bit too much. I remember it was no, it wasn't Power Rangers, that's it. And I love games that, you know, you're challenging yourself and you keep on going levels after levels, and that was me. I loved that game, and I used to go to school, come back and playing that game, go, come back, playing that game. It's like it was the first thing I used to do. Drop my bag, sit on the chair, pull my PlayStation, and that's it. But one day my mom had to pull me out of it. Say, hey, what are you doing? You know, she really spoke to me firmly, and I had to kind of pull out. It was difficult, but I had to pull out. So now, if we don't have if we don't have parents that can be actual parent, meaning be able to speak to your child how it's supposed to, and see that is danger right in front of them, then what are we doing? Then what are we really doing? Because what I can tell you is that there are two sides of everything. The same knife that you can use to cook is the same knife that you can use to kill. The same fire that you can use, you know, to make your barbecue is the same fire that can burn a whole house. So now, if you don't know how to balance, and if you don't know how to speak to your children, if you don't know how to address yourself to your family, honestly, what are we doing? And this is why our future will be in danger. All right? So now that we said shopaholic, being addicted to buying clothes. Nowadays, there's no more limits, because you don't need to go to the shop, even when it comes to our grocery, right? You have, Asda, Tesco, whatever it is, you just need to make the order. It comes and drops at your house. Whatever you need, you don't need to leave your house. It's the same thing when it comes to we have Boohoo, we have Misguided, we have, Shein, and we have all this other website that is really helping us. Amazon keeps on rising. Even the owner of Amazon is super rich because of the fact that we cannot stop buying, which is not bad. But then again, in everything there is limits. So now when there is no limits, and that is what we call addiction. All right? This is what we say, addiction, addicted. Addicted to the wrong thing. It's good to buy, it's good to spend. But look at the priorities. What are the priorities before shopping however you want or pleasing yourself, which is good, but what are the main priorities? Is it your bill? Is it your rent? Is it your phone bill? What is it that is so much more important? Check that first before you dive into the other side. It's good to wear Gucci, the nice brand, and want to show yourself. But it's important to understand what is important first. All right? What is important first? And I believe that I mentioned gambling, and I also said food addiction. So now I'm going to come back to the food addiction right after this video that I'm going to ask Regie to put. Please watch it and take some notes, because it's going to be very interesting.
It may seem common for young people to experiment with different substances, like vaping, weed, tobacco, Molly, and alcohol. Some may even consider hard drugs such as cocaine, meth, or opioids like heroin. Regardless of the substance, if it's not prescribed by a doctor and taken as prescribed, experimenting with substances can have negative effects. Meet Jeremiah. Jeremiah hangs out with his friends on the weekends. They drink alcohol and occasionally smoke marijuana to relax and get away from the stresses of life and school. One time at a party, Jeremiah smoked something a girl handed to him, not knowing what it was. Later, he found out that it was K2, a synthetic type of weed. His friends told him that he was hilarious and started acting crazy, and that they couldn't wait to party with him again. Jeremiah was concerned because he has no memory of what happened. He wants to be with his friends and have a good time, but he hated not remembering and doesn't want to take another substance like that again. He also feels new pressure to be the life of the party and act a certain way. What happened to Jeremiah is all too common. You start out taking one substance and end up taking something else. A danger in using any substance that isn't prescribed to you is not knowing exactly what it is you're taking and how it will impact you. Unfortunately, young people are being exposed to substances that can have dangerous physical and mental health consequences. As a good rule of thumb, if a drug isn't prescribed to you, you shouldn't take it. Pretty quickly, what feels like casual or experimental substance use can turn into a substance use problem, which has long-lasting and negative consequences. Before you decide to use a substance, know the risks and potential consequences, or reach out to a counselor to talk about it.
All right, so you've watched this video, and I believe that it's just kind of like the summary of all the things that I just mentioned to you, just to basically pro this alarm once more that these things truly happen. And then so the next video that I'm going to elaborate and talk to you about, or well, I'm not going to be the one, but this young Pacific girl, which, you know, if when you see her, you'll be like, she's not that old, she's not that, you know, but how come she is in this situation? So now I'm gonna give you this woman, young lady, sorry, for you to sink in, to take a little more information out of her. And I hope that you really, how I'm gonna say this, that is, listen, I have no words, but Regie, if you can please help me to put this video and to let our, you know, our stars all about this video. Let's go.
Hi, my name is Megan, and I'm an alcoholic. I know it's kind of weird looking at me, like I'm not what people would usually associate with alcoholism. I'm not old and wrinkly and dirty and have taken all I can out of life. But what people don't realize is that alcoholism is a disease. Just like diabetes, cancer, it doesn't necessarily have a cure, but it is treatable. And so, no, I don't go around committing felonies and just causing damage everywhere I go because I'm in treatment. And I'm hoping that a lot of people will get out of this talk that teenagers do suffer from alcoholism more than people know. 90% of addictions have roots in teen years. That means that 90% of all alcoholics, all addicts, develop the disease when they were teenagers. And only 10% of teenage alcoholics and addicts get the treatment that they need to recover. Alcoholism is an addiction to alcohol as well as the mental illnesses and disorders that come along with it. Like, for example, I struggle with depression and anxiety. Like, right now I'm kind of freaking out talking in front of all you guys. But through recovery and through my journey through this entire crazy life that I've lived the past couple of years, I've learned that, like, I don't need to be ashamed of who I am. Like, I am an alcoholic, I do have depression, I do have anxiety, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That doesn't make me a bad person. So I'll start off by telling my story. When I was in 7th grade, I experienced alcohol and marijuana for the first time. An older member of my family was very into it, and it was kind of always around me. And at that age, I didn't necessarily know who I was, but I wanted to. And I didn't really like myself that much. I thought that if I tried these things and became someone, anyone, it didn't really matter, then I would feel better about myself. I would have better self-esteem. I would think of myself as more of a whole person. So I experienced that a couple times, and then my family member got put into a rehab. And so the next year, my 8th grade year, I didn't really use drugs or alcohol, but my depression worsened because since my primary addiction was taken away, my body didn't know what to do with all the feelings. I didn't know how to cope. I hadn't developed healthy coping skills that I would have. So my depression worsened, my anxiety worsened, I struggled with self-harm. My image of myself was so negative. And so once freshman year came around, I decided that I was going to pick up drugs and alcohol again. And so when it first started, it was not a lot, just usually with friends. And then throughout the year, it progressed and progressed until I was at the point where my depression was just as bad as it was my 8th grade year. I was still using drugs and alcohol. I was branching off into harder drugs. I was just falling apart on the inside. And the worst part was, no one knew about it. I kept everything below the surface. I know it's kind of easy with my image and everything to make everything seem like it's okay. I was getting good grades. My parents didn't know about my addiction. And I was just kind of skating by, like just on the edge of a breakdown. And so the beginning of my sophomore year, everything was finally uncovered and I was put into rehab. And that's not necessarily the first place I wanted to go, but it was necessary. And at first, I didn't want to admit that I had a problem. I didn't want to admit that I was an alcoholic, because what teenager wants to admit that? I thought that I was just doing what teenagers were supposed to do. And so throughout my journey, I really learned a lot about myself and about alcoholism. Like, my disease has opened up so many opportunities for me. Like, I get to volunteer and work with the kids that I went to this rehab with, and I get to help new people that come in, and that just brightens up my week so much. I volunteer, I'm a dancer, I'm in choir. There's so much more to my life that I was kind of neglecting because drugs and alcohol were my primary focus. They were the most important thing in my life. Some of the myths about alcoholism are that if you just stop drinking, then the disease goes away, you're fine. That's all there is to it. But alcoholism isn't necessarily all about alcohol. It's a thinking disease. It's a mental disease. So when people stop drinking, other qualities come out. They may be more dishonest, steal, lie, other addictions that were hiding below the surface as well. And so to truly recover, they need to focus on the root of the problem. You can't recover completely, but there is treatment, and as long as you keep doing the treatment, then you manage everything. Like, someone who has cancer takes chemotherapy to kind of keep it in check. And that's what I have to do to make sure that I maintain a healthy lifestyle. I'm hoping that you guys can spread the word about what addiction really is, because I know I was ashamed of who I was. I was ashamed that I was an alcoholic, ashamed that I was an addict. I thought people would look at me and not want to be around me because of the stigmas that go along with it. But I realized today that I am blessed to be an alcoholic, because it has opened up so many options for me that I never knew were possible. It has made me into a person that I could have only dreamed of being. And I know without the help of my friends and family, none of it would have been possible. And there's actually a group of students at Barrington High School that struggles with the same things that I do. And every week during school we meet and we just talk about recovery and addiction and where we are in our lives. And so it's slowly spreading that we don't have to be ashamed, we don't have to hide who we are, because there's nothing I can do to change who I am. I can't wake up one day and decide not to be an alcoholic. So I'm just extremely grateful for everything that I have now. And I could have never imagined standing up here and talking about this 2 years ago. But I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to. And my name is Megan, and I'm an alcoholic.
Et oui, nous sommes bel et bien de retour. What do you think, or what are your thoughts when it comes to this video? I hope that it woke you up a little bit. You would have never thought that this young lady standing in front of this crowd be able to speak this way and actually tell a story on when it comes to her being an alcoholic, right? So you probably think that, oh, maybe, young girls like her would never be able to, this word never sometimes needs to come out of some people or most people's, dictionary vocabulary. Why? Because it really, never, don't say never. Never say never, honestly, because everything and anything can be possible. So now, before we continue and actually call on this marvelous woman of God, Apostle Mylene, who is going to elaborate just a little bit before we dive into the end of our show Etincelle, I'm just going to give you a short little video to understand a little bit of when it comes to the brain, of what really is happening in someone's brain when it comes to the substance. And for you to understand a little bit more. Maybe some people are more listeners and some people are more, how I'm going to say this, visual. So I'm a visual person, right? For me to understand, I need to see, right? And also listen, but hey, so I hope maybe that's your case. So pay attention to this short little video. It's just 1 minute. I'll see you just right there.
I think more and more now people see addiction as a developmental disorder. We think about addiction as something that just happens to adults, but in truth is, it really has its roots stemmed in adolescence. That's when most of the people who become addicted try drugs. For example, if you start using an illicit drug before you're 18, we have a 25% chance of becoming addicted. But if you start using an illicit drug after the age of 21, you only have a 4% chance of becoming addicted. So adolescence is a crucial time for the development of addiction. And I started to become very interested in that because I looked at the effect of nicotine on cocaine, and I found that actually nicotine has a very unique ability to basically loosen the DNA. And Eric was talking about gene expression, and when that DNA is loosened, what happens is that when cocaine comes along, then there's a much more massive increase of gene expression that's related to addiction. And in my research, I started looking at the effect of nicotine specifically on cocaine, and I found that nicotine has this effect that it increases gene expression that's related to addiction. But what I found actually later in adolescence was something very different. I didn't expect that. I thought that nicotine would do that even more so in adolescence. But I found something very different. Because when I looked at the adolescent brain at baseline, I saw that the DNA was already loosened up in that particular area in the brain, in the nucleus accumbens. So at baseline, the adolescent brain is much more sensitive to the effect of almost any other drug of abuse. And so if you expose the adolescent brain to any of those drugs, you'll get more of that growth that Eric described, because the DNA is more open, basically open to soaking up new experiences. So this is the compact DNA that you see that oftentimes in adults. And what I saw in adolescence was a very different picture. It was something more like that, a much looser DNA. Mm-hmm. So the gene expression, so the genes that are over there basically can get expressed a lot more in that particular stance when it's more loose.
All right, so what was your opinion? Why am I talking about the past? What is your opinion? What is your opinion when it comes to all them videos and also pictures that I've elaborated, came to, put together for you to understand the major and the consequences really of drugs and addiction. Now, so we spoke about the negative side, because when you are addicted, to the wrong side, when you are addicted to the wrong substance, when you're addicted to, and it is really negative, it affects you negatively. It doesn't affect you positively. You can be addicted to your husband, in a positive way. Of course, it will, what comes next is all just going to be positive. But if you dive into the negative side, well, everything that comes with it is obviously negative. And this is why I'm urging every single parent around the world to understand that drugs is something that can literally pull your child back. It can destroy your child. It can hurt your child. It can, divert your child to the wrong direction. It doesn't matter whether it comes from you, whether it comes from a child, a peer pressure from someone in school, a peer pressure from someone at university, peer pressure even at work. This is still happening. This is still happening. Peer pressure are literally everywhere. You can find it everywhere. And it's something that needs to stop today. Etincelle is calling for every single parent, every single adult who is aware of this. Even if you are the person that gives drugs, that you're the one who is basically selling it, or even getting somebody else to sell it for you, you need to stop. You need to stop. Why? This is not something that is helping the community or either building the future for the better. And this is why Etincelle is raising this point. I believe that soon we will have somebody with whom I'm going to talk a little bit more on when it comes to drug and addiction. Because sometimes it's always good to have someone on the show that can really tell you all about their own experience and what really happened to her, and so so you can maybe understand a little bit more. So if this talk show, has enlightened you and has done good to you and your family and surrounding, honestly, please give it a big thumbs up. Share it to someone who needs it. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Honestly, please, please, please push the show as much as possible. And like I said, if there are other subjects that you feel like you want Etincelle to elaborate a little bit more, go for it. I'm calling for someone or somebody. Are you maybe a person who haven't seen your parent in a long time? Or maybe you are looking for your parents, or maybe you don't know even where to start. You're orphan, or you feel like you're orphan. Is there maybe in your heart that you never forgave your parents or even yourself for something that happened to you back in the day? I'm calling for these people to come on the show. Please come on the show. Let's talk about it in order to enlighten someone who needs it. Are you homeless? And maybe you were, and maybe you're not anymore. The circumstances have changed. I'm calling for you. Were you sick and you had a major, cancer, something that happened to you, and you feel like, I want to talk about it. I want to enlighten someone. Was it maybe a situation when it comes to your marriage, platform, and then something happened and you feel like, hey, someone needs to hear this. Well, Etincelle is here for you. So I'm calling for you to come up. I'm calling for you to put your hand forward, and I'm here to hear you and to give you that platform in order for you to enlighten someone who possibly needs it. I'm Gracious Susuzande. I'm not just a talk show presenter, but I'm a woman of many hats, and one of them is also being a hairstylist, a makeup artist. So we are based here. My station is also based here in Wembley Park, Unit 23 Stadium Business Centre, North End Road, HA9080. This is the postcode, and you can also call me on 079 46 206 506, just in case if you need a hairstylist and you're around and you're listening to this live stream show right now, or maybe someone next to you needs it. I'm also a trainer, a pageant trainer, someone maybe around you, maybe it's you that needs to walk, or need to get a teacher, need someone to train them, or maybe not just for a pageant, it could be also for your marriage. Are you getting ready and you don't know how to walk in heels? I'm here for you. Are you somebody who needs someone to hear you? I can be that big sister for you as well. Someone that you want to call and just to talk to pull your heart to. I'm here for you. I have so many hats, oh my God. So in decoration, in painting, I'm an artist as well. Photography, call me. Honestly, whatever you feel like you need, and all the things I just mentioned right now, I can be the help or even advisor. Call me, call me, call me, call me. So once again, we will meet you. I will meet you next week, Monday at 8 p.m. And I hope that you're ready for me. I'm Gracia Susuzande, your host of Etincelle, and I'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.